Okay, we're here at Snetterton 750 Motor Club round 4 with Rikki Abel. Hi Rikki, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Brilliant. We're just here to have a bit of a chat with Rikki. Obviously Rikki came through the NMA course and programmes as a bespoke entry. We're going to get a little bit into that and his history. So Rikki, tell us a bit about yourself and what you've done over the years.
Hi, so I started motorsports quite a young age, 7 years old. I did a bit of karting. Family have been involved in motorsports. Grandfather was a rally driver for a little period of time. I've dabbled in a bit of rallycross, a bit of drifting, and then moved back to kind of the circuit and doing circuit racing, and moved into the cars from karting from that young age.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
So what previous qualifications did you have and what led you to studying with the NMA?
So I entered quite late into degree level qualifications. So previous to joining the army, I was working for an engineering company. So understood engineering at a reasonable level, A levels, GCSEs in maths, physics, electronics. So kind of had the engineering background, but no formal qualification. And so it was the approach of using the NMA as the opportunity to become qualified in something that I understand. Hands-on experience to have that certificate to back it up.
So with such a rich history of motorsport experience then actually, just as a bit of an overview, how would you say the NMA and the study that you did to undertake with us helped you along the way? Would you say it was quite beneficial? Is there anywhere in particular you found it helped you along the way? Or?
Well, I think it was more along the lines of just formalising understanding how physics, mathematics fits specifically to motorsport. So having that all-round general understanding of the subjects of maths, physics, fluid dynamics is great, but actually understanding the exact science behind setting up a car is almost the key thing for NMA and how I've kind of developed since doing the degree course.
So you mentioned your previous qualifications and also the fact that you raced previously. How do you feel that everything you learnt on the course has changed the way you think about setting up a race car and maybe building a race car?
Well, I think it's kind of linked to the fact of before I was dabbling, whereas now I see it as more of a professional requirement to have a chassis set up, understand how to capture that data, how to then develop from that data to then make the car perform better at the next time it goes out.
So Rikki, one of the things we think is quite good from our perspective on the programmes is that we allow you with your dissertation to put almost a personal twist or a bit of a flavour of yourself into the programme. So can you give us a bit of an idea as to the breakdown of your final project?
Yeah, so I did the 9B module in my third year, so I did the Aerodynamics module, and then decided to continue that as my final dissertation. So I based it on the Nissan 200SX S13, which was my previous, it was actually a drift car that I was converting into a race car, and at that point I used that as my base model for the Aero project, and the basis of that project was the ground effect of the Nissan S13. We did some laser scanning of the car, we did some modelling of it, we put it into Star CCM, and then we created a full aero underfloor package for that vehicle. So it was useful because actually the output was I could build that aero package in real life for the actual car.
So Rikki, you've been on the NMA course and obviously you've progressed and passed now, so congratulations for that. But you've been on social media all the way through, and I've obviously kept up to date with what you've been doing being a Japanese car fan. And obviously you're a very likeable gent yourself, so it's been nice to follow along and see where you've come from. But I can see things have progressed. So can you tell us a bit of a story as to how you went from your beginnings to where you are now with your truck and your lovely car? And
yeah, so it was humble beginnings. It was literally just a cheap van with a trailer on the back, load the car up, filled the car up with tyres, and then just go and do some racing. And now we've got to the point where we've got a team together. We have a group of people that come to every race weekend. We've got the race car, and it's been a progress. Probably over the last 10 years, Kiana Motorsports has been established, but probably in the last 2 years has been the significant leap from low-level club racing to actually let's try and build something that looks and represents like a team.
Okay.
And how have you found that's worked around things like sponsorship? Because that's a massive part of motorsport, obviously, within a team. So how have you built that? How have you found the sponsors, and how does that worked for you?
So I think the key thing for sponsorship is, one, understand your own brand. Kiana Motorsports is very, very dear to my heart. Kiana was my dog. She was a Timberwolf, so the logo, the name and everything all comes together with a personal story. That's the type of thing you need to sell to that sponsor is, do you know what, we've got a story here. It's not just Rikki Abel Racing. I've got a story as a background, and then what you're then looking at is how you're going to brand that. So looking at trying to make sure that you have your placement of the logos, placements on social media to make sure that everything kind of matches. And I went through a significant training program external to NMA to look at my sponsorship packages, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to build something that looked professional, which then meant professional companies wanted to then invest in me.
So in terms of sponsorship and finances then, what would you say was the most important, the key thing to keep in mind as the racer then?
So the key thing for sponsorship is you're asking somebody to give you money. So you need to show them your value and what you're worth. So then you're looking at what is that return of investment for that business. So what they look at is their profit margins. So if you can assist that business to increase their profit margins and or just make their social media go out to more people across the country, the world, whatever their target audience is, that's the key thing that the sponsor is looking for out of you. Can you offer them something that they can't do themselves?
So would you say you have a key sponsor for the car this year?
Yeah, so I have a headline sponsor this year. It's a cryptocurrency finance company. It's called Given to Services. They provide a crypto coin which gives back to the public services, not just the military, such as myself, but also public services such as the fire brigade, NHS, paramedics, doctors, dentists, whatever. If you're in the public services, the idea of it is the profits made from that coin is then given back to those public servants of the British government, basically.
So Rikki, we can attest to your qualifications in motorsport engineering. We've seen what you've been able to produce on the course, which was really impressive. In terms of your business and being a serving soldier, is there anything in particular that's helped you in that respect from your military side?
So it's not just specifically for me, but for the military in general, there's a lot of transferable skills. So you look at the Royal Signals, there's communication equipment on the vehicle. There's the logistics of being able to move a race truck around, move all the equipment around, make sure that you've replenished all of your stocks. You know, everyone needs a spare pack of cable ties at that last opportune moment. So it's just making sure you've got all of those things in place. The REME being vehicle mechanics as a trade group, actually getting hands onto a vehicle, it's a wheel nut is a wheel nut. So at that point in time, there's a lot of transferable skills from the military to motorsports.
So obviously we've discussed you started off in karting and you've now moved up to having a car like the 370. Do you have plans to take it further, or what are your plans to go from here, really?
So yeah, there is obviously aspirations to grow. What that looks like exactly right now, not sure. I like the idea of endurance racing. It offers more transferable stuff from the military. The 370Z is a good basis for the road sports. It's a short endurance race. You've got the Club Enduro in the 750 Motor Club. That opportunity gives us the chance to go for slightly longer distances. But then there's the scope of moving into things like the GT Cup and the British GT as a longer term aspiration. Whether that's achievable or not, that's something that we'll see in the future.
Okay, do you think you'd like to go for 24 hour, like when you say endurance, do you think you'd like to go as long as those kind of races?
I'd be up for the challenge.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So Rikki, you've obviously got a lot of plates spinning, working in the military, racing, studying as well. If you were to be giving advice to somebody else who was studying or looking to study with the programme with us, what would that advice be?
So I think the key thing is, if it's going to take 5 minutes, do it now. If it's going to need lots of preparation, planning, work through that plan, and then action it and give yourself a timeline and a deadline to do it. And then that way you'll actually get an output from it, and then you'll build and progress over that time period.
Okay, Rikki, so the car, the truck, they're all projects, all requires management. Is that something that you would say you're an expert in? Have you got any tips or specific tools that you use to make sure everything comes together?
Yeah, so it's almost kind of like a bit of a hierarchical thing in the sense of you'll have the whole project as a whole, and we call that almost basically just a portfolio of what I have. So there is a separate project for looking after the truck, developing the truck, but then you've also then got the development of the car. They can be split down into a number of little projects, and so what we can then do is I can then show you some of those projects walking around the car now.
Brilliant. So the 370Z is a personal favourite of mine, so this is going to be my favourite part of the interview. Give us an overview of the car. Where did it come from, and what does it stand as today?
So this car was about to get crushed. It was a crash damage vehicle that had been in storage. It actually was very clean underneath, and it was mostly cosmetic damage. And so what we basically done was we took that car, we stripped it down to pretty much a bare shell. We've then put in all of the relevant requirements of roll cages and equipment to then turn it into the race car it is today.
So would you say that's a good way to get into racing, to look for something that isn't perfect, something that other people might not necessarily want, and that you can take and turn into something that can still be used?
So I've never bought a ready-to-go race car. I've always bought a car and turned it into a race car, and so this is my 6th race car I've built. There are other options. You can go out and literally look in the classifieds and buy a ready-to-go race car. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But the bonus of this car is I know every nut and bolt, and I know what the nuances are on, for example, if I needed to remove the ATL fuel cell out of it, what extra pieces of material and equipment that have been put into it, what needs to come out and in what order, and because I built it.
So obviously we're not looking at a road car here anymore, Ricky. What would you say you've done in all to this car in order to get it to where it is now?
Well, so as I say, it had been completely stripped, so it's had a fully fabricated in multi-point cage, but then we've had to do a whole packaging program. So inside the car is an ATL fuel cell with the ATL dry brake on the outside of the vehicle. That system has been put in place. That allowed for the space to be made for the exhaust system, which is down here on the side skirt, instead of in the rear of the vehicle. That has then allowed the continuation of the packaging to then fit in an aerodynamics package, which I'm in the process of designing, ready for an upgrade for next season.
So that would be for a rear diffuser to tie in with the spoiler and all the other aeros on the car, I assume.
Yeah, so this year has been a development year. So we're not necessarily expecting to be getting on the top step of the podium. We're learning about the car, we're learning data, but at the same time we're finding all of those little things that we need to modify, change, improve, as well as then the bigger packaging requirements of making sure that all the air jack system is all working, the aero packages are all working, and then it then means we can go and take the fight next season.
And of course, safety, it still has to be up to the spec of any other race car. So you were saying about the roll cage you've had fabricated. I noticed you've got the fire system in there as well. So it's all about being on top form like you would with any other race car.
Yeah, so you have to meet the regulations of the Blue Book. So Motorsports UK give out the regulations of the Blue Book, as well as then the 750 Motor Club has additional rules and regulations with regards to how it runs its series, and then any other tightening of the regulations to ensure that the racing is then competitive. And so exactly that, we have all the safety features that are required: fire extinguishers, bucket seats, roll cage, harnesses, all of that type of equipment is in the vehicle, as well as then ensuring that we meet the regulations of the Road Sports Championship.
Excellent. And did you find that very hard to get through and get it approved? Is that a process that you have to go through? What did you have to do to get it to a point where you could take it on the track and it was okay?
So luckily, there is actually a module on the NMA degree course which goes through reading the Blue Book and reading a championship regulations and designing parts. And so taking that knowledge, going through the Blue Book and going through the Road Sports Championship, I've then taken that and built this car.
Right, so it's not just helped you in moving forward and developing things like aero, it's helped you get the car to where it is on the track as well.
This is so far the most professionally built race car I've built since ever being involved in motorsports, just because I think I've stepped it up another level, as well as then with the degree and then the understanding and that formalisation of the qualifications allow me to really understand and dig in deep with regards to how to really build and optimise this chassis.
So this would be classed as your test day for the weekend ahead then, Rikki. We really appreciate you giving us some of your time. What have you got left to do today now?
So mostly what we need to do now is just go through and do a final chassis setup. We've got a couple of little tweaks that we're going to make, and we've got a couple of upgrades that we've got to fit to the car ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we've got a scrutineering first thing, and then straight into qualifying tomorrow morning, and then we got the 45-minute endurance race on the afternoon.
Is it just you driving the car?
Yep, so for the road sports, I drive the car. The format of the series is a 45-minute race with a mandatory 1-minute stationary pit stop. You're not allowed to do tyre changes or refuelling in that period, but you can do tyre pressures and temperatures and that type of thing. Car stays static for 1 minute, and then you can then continue. There is an option to have a second driver, so you can do a driver change, but we didn't see that necessarily viable in a 1-minute pit stop window.
And how do you feel the season's going so far? We're only 4 rounds in, but going well so far?
So as far as the season's going, as explained, it's very much a development year for us. So the key thing for us is ensuring that the data loggers are capturing all of our data, make sure we get all of our measurements, all of our temperatures, understanding the vehicle, and just for me, getting some time in the seat just to get used to the vehicle.
So Rikki, you graduated with a first class from the BSc. Really impressed. Really, I'm sure you're very proud of yourself. Do you have any plans to go any further, do anything else next?
Absolutely. I think it was an eye-opener for me to do distance learning. Like you say, juggling motorsports as well as then having a full-time military career. Doing that degree as a distance learner allowed me to work in an area which I'm interested in, which meant it easier to work with. And so I think there's absolutely aspirations to maybe continue that in the near future.
Brilliant. Well, we hope to see you again, hopefully. All we've got left to say, really, is good luck for the rest of the weekend, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Rikki. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Welcome to Snetterton.
Thank you very much. Ed, welcome as well.
Hiya. Hi, Rikki.
Hi.
That was really good. You cut in that.
Yeah.
Cut into the question. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What are you doing? No!
Sorry, batteries rolling.
Right, they're coming
Yeah.
into the pits. We've got silence at the
Okay,
minute.
go.
750 Motor Club, round 4.
Round 4, road
Yeah.
sports.
You're Rikki.
I'm Rikki.
I'm Wayne.
You're Wayne.
Yeah.
That's Ed.
Hi.
You'll not need any more for the bloopers reel, will you?
We haven't got anything for the reel.
That's the point.
Putting batteries in.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
this is the point.
Go.
Are you ready? Are you going to be serious now?
That's right.
I'm just watching them eating bacon
Don't do
sandwiches,
it.
just
Don't do
wishing.
it, man. So, obviously, we're a relatively small outfit here as a race team, but do you find that you can learn things from larger teams and larger companies that can translate into what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so it's no different whether you have a large outfit, lots of personnel, or whether you're just a small race team like ourselves and there's just a couple of people. It's all about just-in-time logistics. So it's just making sure that you've got the right thing at the right time, such as a bacon roll.